News, where we are not politically correct, but biblically correct. And we are discussing two things that you're not supposed to discuss in company, and that's politics and religion.
That's correct.
How you been, Chris?
Doing great, Lawrence.
Long time no see, buddy.
Well, I think we saw each other last night. Give a shout out to the Lincoln County Republican Party over in Fayetteville, Tennessee. They had you and I over as guest speakers last night.
Yeah, and we're still here.
And we're still here.
They didn't even throw eggs at us.
They didn't throw eggs, no water balloons or anything.
They even fed us, too.
They did feed us. That is true. Thank you to Lincoln County. And we had a great time over there and educational experience with a lot of folks and just trying to get the truth to people, both politically and biblically.
Amen on that. So I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to come out swinging.
Can I say one thing before we get started?
Yep, go ahead.
I got some not so good news a little bit ago on the way over here. And I've got a dear friend of mine who has been in law enforcement for 52 years and still in law enforcement. Actually, he's the chief of police in a community in Giles County up in Linville, Tennessee. And we need to keep this young man in our thoughts and our prayers. Great friend, great law enforcement officer. He served in many capacities with different agencies throughout the state. And, he's going to need the hand of God right now.
52 years. Wow. Longer than I've been alive, and he's been doing this.
Yes, sir. Just want to put that out there, and everybody that's listening, just put this gentleman in your prayer list.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you what we're going after from the beginning. We're sitting here, I'm listening to Fox News talking about the Biden administration, and Biden went up to Maine finally. I'm surprised he could find it, but he did. And wanting to talk about more gun control.
Wait a minute, he thought he was really in Rhode Island.
Who knows where he thinks he is, but I'm going to tell you what. I'm not listening to some idiot tell me about gun control when he can't even control his guns. Let's talk about how the fact that that man took our military, made them run with their tails between their legs and left all those guns.
In Afghanistan.
All those guns, all of that military equipment, planes, helicopters. And guess what? I'm seeing this
in the hands of the Hamas folks right now.
And Hezbollah.
That's correct. The M4s.
Yes.
The news media is so slanted to the left, it's not even beginning to be funny. There's very few news outlets who are actually reporting the truth, and we can't even count them on one hand. And they want to holler at, look at these AK-47s that they're using, Hamas, as they attack Israel. Those folks were M4s, and they did come straight from Afghanistan due to this inept, incompetent president that we've got and his administration.
See, here's the thing, and I might have been a little bit hard on him, and I'm going to tell you why I say that. I don't think you can be that stupid on accident. I think it's on purpose. You can't do the things that he has done on accident. It's been done on purpose. But I'm going to tell you something. I want to discuss a little bit, and this is kind of funny. So I went and I looked at 2021 because this is the last year that the CDC has put on there. Okay? And do you realize that in 2021, according to the CDC, that we have 48,830 gun deaths? Were you aware of that?
48,830.
830. And 54% of those gun deaths were by suicides. Now, Chris, I'm going to tell you something. 48,830 is too many. It's 48,830 too many. But during that same year, again, according to the CDC, we had 49,900 vehicle deaths.
49,900.
Yeah. Are you hearing any talk about banning vehicles?
Only between you and I. We've talked about it, hey, look what's going on here. And look how many deaths we've had due to vehicle accidents. And we're not talking about banning vehicles at all.
So here's another funny thing that come out. Is Maine had what is called a yellow flag law. And the yellow flag law has just a little, 2 more extra steps to protect people's rights than what a red flag law has. Okay? But I'm going to show you where this is their narrative. And if you noticed, the left and the media has stopped talking about this shooting, this Maine shooting, because it doesn't fit their narrative. Maine this year had 82 yellow flag laws where they had actually went and had confiscated these people's guns. Okay? Massachusetts, which is close to Maine, who has one of the strictest red flag laws in the country, only had 57 incidents where guns were taken away from people.
Okay.
Okay? Now, here's the funny thing, is that the media is messed up, and so has these anti-gunners. And let's face it, Chris, anti-gunners, all they do is they push upon their emotion. The emotion is what the anti-gunners push. They don't push logic. Okay? And we had the people talking about this, the media I'm talking about, and our government. They're saying, but if this was working, if these red flags were working, we're trying to set these laws in place so we can take guns, listen to this, so we can take guns out of people's hands quickly. Do you hear what I'm saying?
Say that one more time for the listening audience.
The red flag laws are to take guns out of people's hands quickly.
I understand what you're saying.
You understand? Okay, I'm glad you understand, because I'm going down this road.
That's to make us an armless society.
It is to make us an armless society. Do you know which society, by the way, that's in the news a lot right now? Is a society that has one of the lowest gun ownerships in the world of all the countries.
Israel?
Israel. You know what their gun ownership is?
2.5% of their population.
2.5%. So let me ask you this. How much for Hamas to have come across the border?
The most secured border in the globe.
In the world. They came across the border, and within about a 3-hour period of time, they systematically murdered, raped, killed, burned, beheaded over 1,200 Israelis. Where was the army? Let me ask you this. Where was the police? Where was their sheriff? I don't know if they have a sheriff. But where was the police and where was the army?
In other words, what you're getting to is, where's their public safety?
Where's the public safety at? You know, here's the funny thing, and the media's not telling you this. There were some people there that were on the border of Gaza that survived that attack. You know the ones that survived the attack, who they were? One of the 2.5% that had guns. Those are the ones. And you know what's kind of funny is now Israel's talking about, well, we may need to let some of our citizens go armed.
Yes.
You know, I would have never thought this, but the police, you know, we always heard this joke, you know, when seconds count, your police are only minutes away. So what happened in Israel? It took hours. 1,200 people systematically. You know how long it takes? I mean, I can understand if you shoot somebody, but this was unholy what was done. This was demonic what was done to these people. This didn't take minutes, Chris. This took hours. We had one instance, and they found it on a GoPro camera, where a baby was cooked in the oven alive while the husband had his hands tied behind his back and they raped his wife. That didn't take minutes, Chris. I want people to really think about this. And when we have our government and we have our media saying that we're going to take guns out of your hands with a country that has the least secure border in the world, and we're going to sit down and take this?
Say that one more time.
We have the least secure border in the world. We let anybody come across. Not only do we let anybody come across, then we give them money. Not only do we give them money, then we give them a card saying, oh, you know, by the way, in a year or 2 or 3 or whatever, you can come back and we'll deport you then.
This is the craziest thing. You know, there's been a lot, and we've got a lot to talk about, a lot to educate the people about. But think about all these illegals coming across the border daily. It's upwards to 10,000 a day.
Yes.
10,000 times 10 days is 100,000.
That's right.
This is absurd. And we got a president. Well, we got a puppet.
We have an administration.
We have an administration, but we got a puppet as president.
Right.
An outright idiot. And these things are going on constantly, and this whole administration doesn't seem to give a rip's rear end. And here we are, and we talked about it, about 3 weeks ago, maybe on Kip's show, that we've got about over 20,000
Chinese
nationalists that have come across the border.
Yes.
And they're military trained.
Men.
They're men.
Not families, not children.
They
not
are
women.
men. And they're not coming here for their health, or they want to get out of communist China. They are being sent here. They have a plan or a roadmap. They may be going to places I hate to even think where they may be going. And a lot of them are close to our area right here.
Well, I'm going to tell you what has happened. And again, you know, everybody, look this up. You know, you can look this up yourself. I mean, don't take our word for it. But right now, that we're aware of, there are 7 different states right now that have training grounds for Islamic military training. And you know, one of those states where this training ground is at?
Tennessee.
No, it's not Tennessee. It's North Carolina, though. North Carolina, that they have identified.
Well, the reason I said Tennessee,
Yeah.
There's been some training and things that go on up at our Parthenon in Nashville.
Yeah.
By these foreign nationals.
Yeah, but these are actually military-age men training.
Militia
That are training.
What part of North Carolina do you know?
I don't.
Okay.
I didn't study it that far. You know, my job is to bring the information to people and let them take the information and gather it for themselves.
Well, I'll tell you one thing about the great state of North Carolina, which used to be North Carolina territory.
Right.
To the Mississippi River. But they got one heck of a lieutenant governor over there.
Yeah, Mark Robinson.
Yep. And, you know, this guy don't play.
You know, it's kind of funny. I love here, you know, we got our own idiots in this state, and we don't have representatives. We actually have activists. And Justin Jones went over there. There was an incident happened at Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Wasn't even anybody dead. A student brought a gun onto campus and they got triggered. You know, they got scared. He didn't threaten anybody. He didn't shoot anybody. Didn't kill anybody. But they got threatened and killed. And this dude, this activist, goes over there talking about, we got to take guns away out of North Carolina. You know what Mark Robinson did? He went during the same time he had an AR-15 giveaway.
Giveaway.
God bless that man.
You know, he's a great guy. And, you know, with all the, you know, with Donald Trump seeking presidential nominee again, I'd love to see him reach over and grab a guy like Mark Robinson as his running mate. I'm going to just put it out there. We need strong people. We need strong leadership. And we better wake up, America.
Well, I tell you, America is... I was reading something the other day, and it looked at the 8 greatest civilizations in the history of the world, and most of them only lasted 250 years.
We about run our course, haven't we?
Yes, we have. And it was amazing. I didn't think I was going to go on this. Maybe we'll touch on it next week. But there's 7 instances, and it starts with seeking the freedom and fighting for the freedom, and then it goes to industrializing, then it goes to apathy. I mean, there's 7 things that a country goes through before they fall off the cliff. And guess what? We're at the last one right now, which is apathy, which is don't care. And
yeah, it started with all these different, you know, go back 60 months and look how we greatly changed.
Well,
it started with, you know, everybody getting up in arms about defunding the police.
Yeah.
Think about this. In these cities like Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles, it's even been hollered in Memphis. Now the people who cut back on police funding are now needing help. I think about that nut they've got as a mayor up in New York City, Eric Adams.
Yeah.
You know,
who was the ex-police chief, by the way?
That's right.
He was ex-police chief of that city.
Now
someone that should have known better.
You know, what really gripes me is he wants to holler a national emergency for New York City. What does he think about these people down in El Paso and Eagle Pass and right along that Brownsville, Texas, along that border?
They don't care.
They don't care until it steps on their front porch.
It is rules for thee, not for me.
That's right.
That's how these people think. And we are looked upon as really we're idiots. You know, I was talking to a couple of our good friends today, Dave Vance, and then I was also talking to Jim Barth.
Okay.
And they were telling me, and I'm not going to put the senator's name out there, but they were talking to a senator the other day.
Yes, sir.
And you know, you were really privileged.
We're privy.
Yeah, what's going on, but we're not going to put it out yet.
We will say it's a Republican senator.
Oh, absolutely.
State senator.
Yes. And we're going to give him a chance to come around. But if he don't come around, he's going to face the music, and I would love for him to come in here with us and face the music. I don't think he will, okay? But I'd love for him to do that. But anyway, they were having a conversation with him. And one of the things that they got out of this, and they were both told me this, by the way, and we weren't on a conference call. It was 2 separate times. The things that they said was this. They knew that the conversation was going to go bad because when he was talking to them, he was talking down to them as if they were stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And he even told them they don't know what they're talking about, and that he is an attorney, and that he will take people like them and whip them in court because he's so much smarter. I'm going to tell you something. You're not going to get too much smarter than Jim Barth or Dave Vance.
I totally agree.
And I tell you what, I would, Senator, if you're listening to this, you'll know who you are.
Or hopefully somebody will send it to him.
Yeah, I would love to see you do that. I don't think you could. I would sit back in my chair and get my popcorn out and watch this. Because I tell you what will happen, you will lose. I don't care if you think you are an attorney. I tell you what you don't know is you don't know the Constitution.
That's exactly right. And
any attorney that doesn't know the Constitution is worthless.
you know, there was another person involved in that meeting.
Yeah.
And I talked to that person on the way home from Lincoln County last night.
You talking about Richard Archie?
No, there was an.
There's another one.
There's
See,
another one.
I'm going to tell you something.
And this person actually listens to the radio program, and there's some more heads that need to roll in the state house that are Republicans.
Well, I tell you, we have a 75% majority, and we can't get anything done to protect this state. Because I'm going to tell you something. This state needs protecting from our United States and from our country.
We need to secure the Tennessee borders.
We do. We do. And we are like a lifeboat that is tethered to the Titanic, and the Titanic has hit an iceberg, and it's starting to sink. And if we do not cut that line,
we're going to sink as well.
We're going to sink as well. And I tell you, I see this thing happening. I can't tell you how we can fix America, because I don't know if America wants to be fixed. But I still think there's enough decent and God-fearing people here in Tennessee that we can at least have Tennessee as a beacon of hope. And I mean, we weren't the volunteer state for a reason.
You know, it was funny that we're talking about all this, and last night we did arrive in Fayetteville, Tennessee a little early, and I wanted Lawrence to see a great park they're putting together over there called Camp Blunt.
Yes. And
that's where the volunteer state got its name. Encourage anybody that's on the Huntsville Highway and behind Hardee's and Long John Silver's in Fayetteville to pull in there and look at that Camp Blunt. It'll give you cold chills thinking where Andrew Jackson walked, and this is where everybody grouped to go to the War of 1812 and the war against the Indians as well. So, you know, you learn a lot, and history is there for us not to like or dislike. It's there for us to learn from, and it's also there for us to learn not to repeat the bad parts of history, but we never learn our lesson. You agree with that?
I agree totally with that. I mean, but you know what? It's like Solomon said in Ecclesiastes, there's nothing new under the sun. And the reason that there's nothing new under the sun is because, just like you said, we keep repeating history because we haven't learned from our past. And this is the big thing. This is why I'm so passionate when it comes to the gun control laws, is I'm a numbers guy, okay? And we have, like I told you, the last that the CDC did, we had 48,000 people killed with a handgun. Now, of course, 54% of them did it themselves, okay?
But so that gets you down to about 24,000. Take away right. That.
Yeah, 22, 23, yeah, somewhere around there. But 54% was self-inflicted, okay? But then, in the 20th century alone, and we can start with Russia, China, Germany. Everybody wants to talk about Germany, you know, because of the Jews and what happened, and 6 million Jews killed, okay, which is horrible. It's terrible. But people don't realize we had over 50 million Russians killed. We had over 50 to 100 million Chinese killed during the same period of time. And you know how these people were killed? They were killed to gun registration and gun control.
Their own government.
Their own government killed them. And I love it. I love it how these socialists in this country and these quasi-communists. But I will say this about a true communist. It's not these people that are on campus and these 300-pound burly women and these 120-pound little sickly-looking men that are running around spouting their communism, because a true communist has a lot of balls. If you want to see what true communism will do, go look and see what Hamas did to Israel. One and the same. I mean, the communists will work together with a jihadi. I mean, they'll work very easily with a jihadi. They know what true violence is. These people here,
they have no conscience whatsoever.
Yeah.
They will kill you on sight.
But these people that are sitting there talking about we got to take away the guns, we got to take away your rights and everything else, what they don't realize is you go read your history books, and you know who the first ones that the communists kill? It's not people like me or you. They actually respect people like me or you. You know what the first ones that the communists kill are the ones that put them in power, are the ones that were the useful idiots that were spouting all this garbage and got people to go along with it, because they look at them as traitors and people that are not to be traded.
Yeah.
They're people that's not to be trusted. So that's the reason I'm so passionate about it, is because I believe whatever's in that Bible, and I sit here and I look at what has happened in the past, and I know that it's happening again, Chris.
Like Psalm 83.
Like Psalm 83.
We told folks we were going to discuss it.
Yep. And we did. But it didn't get recorded.
That's right. Unfortunately, it didn't get recorded. But we're going to touch on that now.
Yeah, let's touch on that now. Do you have Psalm 83 pulled up where you can read it? So what we're talking about with Psalm 83. Psalm 83 is actually a war, and it is a war that is described in the Bible. And the war, we have heard there's different interpretations. You know, some people will say, well, this war already happened when Israel became a nation in 48. Or they will say this war happened in 67 when Israel regained Jerusalem. Or they'll say it happened in the Yom Kippur War of 73. But none of those things, in my opinion, really happened. But I think what I'm seeing now with Hezbollah and also with Hamas, I believe that it is the Psalm 83 war is happening right now.
I'll tell you what I'll do. There's 18 verses in the Psalm 83. Let me take the first 9, and you take the last 9. Okay? Keep not thy silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, Come, let us cut them from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Sound familiar?
Yes, it does.
For they have consulted together with one consent that they are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom, the Ishmaelites of Moab, and the Hargonists, Gabal, and Ammon, and Amalek, the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre. Ashur also joined with them, that they have holpen the children of Lot, Slah. Do unto them as until the midnights, as to Sisera, as to Jabin, at the brook of Kison. Now,
which perish at Endor, they became as dung for the earth. Make their nobles like Oreb and like Zeb, yea, all their princes as Zebah and Zalmunna, who said, "Let us take to ourselves the house of God in possession." O my God, make them like a wheel, as the stubble before the wind, as the fire burneth a wood, and as the flame setteth the mountains on fire. So persecute them with thy tempest, and make them afraid with thy storm. Fill their faces with shame, that they may seek thy name, O Lord. Let them be confounded and troubled forever. Yea, let them be put to shame and perish. That men may know that thou, whose name alone is Jehovah, art the Most High over all the earth.
You know, that'll make the hair stand up on the back of your neck if you truly understand what this Psalm 83 is saying.
Yes, and I'm going to tell you something. And this, when I heard this, and I heard this on Monday night, after we got done with our radio program, and I'm watching Israeli news, and I'm watching Benjamin Netanyahu get on there. And Benjamin Netanyahu got on there and said this, and it chilled me. And I actually called Brandon immediately when I heard it. Benjamin Netanyahu said this. He said, all the way from starting from Joshua in the Bible, God has told us to expel Amalek out of the land. And all throughout the Bible, we did not do it. Whether it was David, whether it was Joshua, whether it was Saul, any of these, Samson, you name it, all of these famous Bible people, they didn't do it, Benjamin Netanyahu said. And he said, even since we became a nation again in 48, the 48 war.
After Yom Kippur.
Yeah, 48 war, the 67 war, the Yom Kippur war of 73. He says, we have not expelled Amalek out of the land.
But he's going to this time.
He says, we are going to this time. One of those names of people, Amalek, is what we just read in Psalm 83. There's about 12 to 15 tribes listed. Now, there's some kings' names listed there, but there's about 12 to 15 tribes listed. And I'm going to tell you something. Hamas and Hezbollah makes up about 90% of those names.
Well, you know, for people to really wrap their mind, tell us again what you heard Benjamin Netanyahu say.
He said this. He said, from all the way starting from Joshua, all the way through the Yom Kippur War of 73, we have not expelled Amalek out of our land.
I'm going to pick up on Amalek.
Okay.
People don't take the time to look up and educate themselves. There again, Lawrence and myself will tell you these. This is strictly our opinions.
Correct.
Go study the Word of God yourself.
You are to come. This is what Jesus said. You are to come to your own salvation through fear and trembling. Now, what we're discussing is not a salvation issue by any means. To me, it's
educational.
It's educational, and I don't want to say I'm a biblical scholar. I mean, I'm not going to put myself there, but I love history, and I also feel like that I'm a watchman on the wall.
Well, Amalek is the enemy of Israel.
Yes.
And Amalek is made up of about 10 nations, Tyre, which is mentioned in Psalms 83.
Yes.
That conspire against God's people.
Well, so Amalek is too. Amalek's mentioned in there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And it's both of these are mentioned, but these are the enemies of Israel.
Yes.
That can be considered the Gaza Strip, Syria, Iran, Lebanon. We can go on and on. Egypt.
I wouldn't say Iran. They are Persians, And Iran will get mad if you lump them in with the Muslims. They consider themselves Persians.
But they're the instigators.
They are the instigators. They're the ones that's putting it in. And Iran will have its place when it comes to the Ezekiel 38 war.
But Amalek really is pointed out as Esau's grandson.
Esau's grandson, and then Amalek had a grandson further down the road from him, who was named Haman. Now, here's where Haman is famous, and people might be going, well, who's Haman? Well, Haman was the main character in the book of Esther, and just to tell everybody, Esther had to come and save her people when she became the queen of King Xerxes. And her job was to save the Jewish people from the evil plot by Haman to kill all the Jews. Not just some of the Jews. He was wanting to kill every single Jew. And it was Esther who stepped in and saved her Jewish people. So here's another interesting thing about Hamas. Do you know Hamas, like the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, has a platform?
Oh, yeah.
Hamas has their own platform. And in that platform, they do not believe that they're Mahdi. And I'm going to tell you something. When you read about the Mahdi is their Messiah. And the Mahdi's attributes mirror our Antichrist attributes. But here's what Hamas's platform says. Hamas's platform says that the Mahdi cannot come back until they kill all the Jews and destroy the deceiving Christians.
Now, another light went off.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to tell you, folks, it's a sad day in our great land that was founded upon God. And we've got people marching in our streets, in our cities, like New York, even Nashville. Kill all Jews.
Right.
They're Palestinians. They're out there marching. They're loud and proud. And you know what really gripes me? And I think everybody who is a member of our House, and I'm focus on Tennessee only, and our Senate, need to take a look at their fellow legislators that are serving with them in the House and Senate that are marching with the Palestinians.
It's not just Palestinians, though. I mean, there's some Palestinians in there, but when I've looked at the crowd, most of the crowd are not Arabic looking. They are white.
They're white, yes.
They are their ethnicity is Caucasian. So, I mean, you're dealing with people that don't know what they're doing, though, Chris.
They're total idiots, but some of them are legislators that are serving the people of Tennessee, and they need to be removed.
Well, I tell you, I had not planned on going here, but I have to.
I opened it up.
You opened it up. And I'm going to read another passage from Romans chapter 1.
Okay.
And it's going to be verse 16 through 32. This is hard because this is also prophetic. And I'm reading from the King James Version. For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Christ, for it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believeth, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek. For therein is the righteousness of God revealed from faith to faith, as it is written, the just shall live by faith. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men, who hold the truth in unrighteousness. Because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God hath showeth it unto them. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by things that are made, even his external power and Godhead, so they are without excuse. Because that when they knew God, They glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and in their foolish hearts was darkened. Are you starting to see how some of our leaders are like this today? Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man, and to birds, and four-footed beasts, and creeping things. Therefore God also gave them up to uncleanliness through their lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves, who changed the truth of God into a lie, and worshiped and served the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. For this cause God gave them up until vile affections, for even their women did change the natural use into what is against nature. And likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one towards another, men with men, working with that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error which was met. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient. Being filled, listen to this, being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedience to parents, without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful, who knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death, not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them.
That's wrapping up what is going on in the United States, and I'm sad to say this. This is exactly what is going on in real time.
Yes, sir.
The
I got goosebumps.
It's, you know, you heard me say this. I was watching the Titans and the Colts playing in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
And I noticed the Colts mascot is, the horseshoe or a horse. And it come out as a unicorn, a fairy-looking unicorn. And I thought, my gosh, what is going on here? And I got to noticing their little Nike emblem was the rainbow color. Looked it up, and the National Football League proudly supports the LGBTQ plus community. I immediately turned the TV off. I will never watch another NFL game ever. I am done. The kneeling, I was glad that people started standing. I thought we would get past this. But now the NFL is the National Fairy League. So I'm done with them. And if people would just quit buying their merchandise, and I know, you and I know, there are good players out there that are Christian. There are good coaches that are Christians.
Even good owners.
And good owners. But the bad is making, one bad apple ruins the whole barrel.
Well,
and if people would just refrain from going to these places or supporting these people, and I even jump on Cracker Barrel. They came out this year
with the Rainbow Rocker.
And I think Clay Doggett purchased one. We got to give him a little grief. But anyway, he didn't. But anyway, they came out, but people still go to the Cracker Barrel. My shadow hadn't darkened the Cracker Barrel's entrance since 2017. I'm done.
Yeah.
Look at Target. Look what Target said, was it yesterday? That the Christians are the ones to be feared. Target Corporation.
But they're right. We should be feared. Not because we're Christians. We should be feared because we serve a holy God.
That's right. But they said they backed the BLM. You know, and this is ludicrous.
Well, you got maybe they're turning around. BLM could also stands for Babies Lives Matter.
Well, that is true.
I mean, we've only killed. I'm saying it tongue in cheek.
Right.
We've only killed 63 million babies. And yes, it is killed. It is murder. That what we have done.
Life, folks, whether you believe it or not, begins at conception.
Well, the Lord also told us in Jeremiah that I knew you before you were formed in the womb.
Yes.
And I'm unapologetically believe whatever the Bible says, whatever God says, I'm going to believe. And there's nothing you're going to do that will ever convince me different. If it makes me a fool in your eyes, okay, I'm a fool. I'm fine with that. I don't look for other people's approval. I look for the Lord's approval, and that's it.
That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. So,
right, wrong, or indifferent, that's all that matters. But I want to touch on this because we've talked about Ezekiel 38.
Mm-hmm.
I think you need to go ahead and read Ezekiel 39 as well.
Yeah.
Both those chapters.
Yes.
They're not that long at all, but folks, when you're reading, and if you don't understand who Tubala is, or Hamon-Gog, or anything of the names,
Tubal is actually a river.
Well, no, Tubala is actually Japheth's son, who was Noah's son.
That's right, but I'm saying there is an area in Russia that is a river that is called Tubal.
That is right,
And that's where those people were supposed to have gone to.
Towards Turkey.
Past Turkey into Russia.
Okay. And the reason I say that, in Ezekiel 39, they bring up a word called Manisha.
Yeah, Mishish. Yeah.
Mishish. Okay, and that's Turkey. And when you look at that, is also part of where Shem, who was also Noah's son, he had 3 sons and their wives that were on the ark, Ham, Shem, and Japheth.
Japheth, yeah.
So, anyway, it's it's all chilling. And I mentioned Hamon-Gog. That's a city that will be defeated after their attack on Israel.
Right.
So, is that the Gaza Strip, or?
You know what?
You're.
I haven't looked at that closely. I've actually been looking at the Psalm 83 war probably for at least 10 years, maybe even 15 years. I have been looking at this and studying it, because to me the Psalm 83 war is what starts the dominoes for the end times and the return of Jesus Christ, and also the beginning and the rising up of the Antichrist. Just looking at everything, how it happens, that is, and again, this is just my opinion, but that's the reason the Psalm 83 war has always been so important for me to try to understand, is because I think that is just another precursor to what is happening that is showing us for Christ's eventual return. Because you know what? Jesus even tells us in Matthew 24, look up, because your redemption draweth nigh. And he tells us that there will be wars and rumors of wars, that there will be pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. And, a lot of people are saying, well, yeah, the pestilence, COVID, that's a pestilence. And it is a pestilence. And I mean, make no doubt about that. But I tell you what was interesting, and this is, again, you can look all this up. I mean, I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I mean, I found this myself. But do you realize that as many people that we had died in 2020 and 2021 of COVID, that we had twice as many die of hunger in the world?
It was well over.
It was like 4 or 5 million.
Yeah,
but I mean, it was double. You take the amount of people.
I think alone in the U.S. it was over 200,000.
Well, see, now that I don't remember, but I do remember this.
Something we read on. I mean, we read a lot.
We do read a lot, but that got me right there. So earthquakes in diverse places. Well, folks, I mean, go look this up. I mean, you can see how earthquakes have been increasing since 2020. I mean, exponentially increasing since 2020. Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate when I say this, okay? But it could be that the monitors are better now and that they can pick up earthquakes. But earthquakes have risen tremendously since 2020. So, I mean, say what you want, but I'm just looking at what Jesus says before he comes back. These are the things that are going to happen. But here's what I want everybody to understand. More than anything prophetic, the disciples asked Jesus, they said, when will these things happen? And when will you be coming back? And the end of the age. So Jesus doesn't go into a diatribe of saying, oh, well, you got
a certain date.
You got to watch for this. Well, actually, he says only the Father knows.
That's the only one that knows.
That knows. You're not to know the day or the hour, but you are to know the seasons. Okay? But that's not what Jesus says when they asked him this question. You know what the first thing Jesus says? Let no man deceive you. And in Matthew 24, Luke 21, Mark 13, this is called the Olivet Discourse. When he talks about the end times, Jesus does directly. Let no man deceive you is what Jesus says, not once, not twice, but sometimes 3 times, according to which version that you're reading. You know, whether you're reading Luke or you're reading Matthew or Mark. But that's what Jesus says, let no man deceive you. And I say this to say what we're saying now. Your own salvation has to come through fear and trembling. But I'm going to tell you something. I look at the things that are happening now. I read the Bible. And if the Bible is true, okay, and I'm saying it kind of tongue in cheek, okay, because me and you know it's true. But I'm telling somebody that is listening out right now that might be disagreeing with what we're saying. But if the Bible is true, we are staring at the end times right now.
You know, we always say this is the fastest hour.
Yeah.
We're down to our final 2 minutes. And before we leave this program today, one thing that I want to share, and these are books and chapters we talk about. Please read Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39. Read Psalm chapter 83 in its entirety. Read Matthew 24 in its entirety. Read 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 in its entirety. And that'll help you start forming your own opinion. If you don't understand something, look it up. But Lawrence, it's been a pleasure. We want to give a shout out to State Rep Todd Warner, who helped sponsor this show.
Thank you, Todd.
And Todd, thank you tremendously. Without you, we couldn't do this. And it's been a great day. We've had a pleasant, beautiful day today.
It has been nice.
And I just wish everybody would do the right thing, and nothing else would matter.
So I'm going to tell you another thing, too, and, you know, because we still got a minute. Read Revelation, and it's not Revelations, it's Revelation. Okay? Read Revelation. Do you know Revelation is the only book of the 66 books in the Bible that God gives a promise and says that if you read it, that you will have a special blessing? Only book. He wants us to know what is happening. He wants us to know what's going on. And Revelation is totally about the end times and the future and what happens. And he wants us to understand these things.
Yeah. Well, we're down to the last 15 seconds. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. God bless everyone. Join us again on Monday at 5 with the Kip Capley Show.
Yep, Kip Capley Show, and then also Wednesday for the Republican Show, 5 to 6 p.m. God bless everyone, and have a great weekend.